the most advanced warship ever built by the United States Navy, is quietly falling apart in the middle of the ocean. More than 260 days at sea. The crew was pushed to exhaustion. Critical systems are starting to fail. And now, after a fire on board the USS Gerald R. CVN-78, the question is no longer how powerful this carrier is. It's how much longer it can survive. The USS Gerald R. CVN-78 was meant to represent the future of American naval power, a next-generation supercarrier designed to redefine how the United States Navy projects force across the globe. Built as the lead ship of an entirely new class, it was expected to usher in a new era of dominance at sea. But during its latest deployment, Ford is making headlines for a very different reason. Instead of showcasing only cutting-edge capability, the carrier is now pushing limits, human, mechanical, and operational. With its deployment stretching beyond 260 days, it has quietly entered territory not seen since the Vietnam War era, and signs are beginning to show. What started as a standard mission has evolved into something far more demanding. On June 24, 2025, Ford departed from Naval Station Norfolk, heading out on what was expected to be a routine overseas deployment focused primarily on European waters. But global tensions had other plans. The carrier was first redirected toward the Caribbean, supporting U.S. operations near Venezuela. Not long after, it was reassigned again, this time to the Eastern Mediterranean and the Red Sea, as tensions with Iran escalated. Each shift extended the mission further, pushing back any hope of returning home. What was supposed to last around 6 months slowly turned into something far longer. And unlike previous extended deployments, such as those during the pandemic, this one offered no real pause, no reset, just continuous operations. By early March 2026, the carrier had crossed the 260-day mark. But this wasn't just time spent at sea, it was time spent under constant pressure. Ford was actively flying combat sorties, maintaining a near-continuous presence in volatile regions, and supporting real-world strike operations. The ship never truly slowed down, and that pace came at a cost. Fatigue across the crew reached extreme levels. Life aboard an aircraft carrier is already demanding, but this deployment pushed it further than most had experienced. Sailors missed major life events, births, emergencies, milestones, while being cut off from meaningful contact with their families. Yet, what made the situation worse wasn't just the length of the deployment. It was the uncertainty. Several times, sailors were reportedly told they were heading home, only to learn shortly after that the mission had been extended again. That repeated cycle of hope and disappointment slowly wore down morale. At the same time, conditions on board began to decline. The Ford has long faced issues with its sanitation systems, and during this extended deployment, those problems became harder to manage. While such issues aren't entirely uncommon on large naval vessels, the non-stop operational tempo left little room for proper maintenance. As a result, everyday life on board became more difficult for an already exhausted crew. Naval leadership publicly maintained that the situation was under control, but accounts from those on board suggested otherwise. Continuous use without adequate repair windows was beginning to overwhelm the ship's internal systems. Then came the turning point. On March 12, 2026, a fire broke out in the ship's aft laundry area. Officially, it was described as a lint fire, something that can happen in high-use environments. But given the operational context, some observers questioned whether there could have been other causes. Maybe Iran was successful in hitting multiple times, and that's why the fire issue forced it to withdraw from this situation. Regardless of how it started, the impact was serious. The fire burned for hours, filling parts of the ship with smoke and forcing the evacuation of large sections of the crew. Over 200 sailors were treated for smoke inhalation. One had to be medically evacuated. More than 100 living spaces were rendered unusable. The aftermath created immediate challenges. With berthing areas damaged, the Navy had to reroute thousands of mattresses and essential supplies from another carrier. In the meantime, some sailors were left sleeping on temporary setups. Following the incident, the ship was diverted to Suda Bay for emergency inspection and repairs. At first, it was framed as a short stop, but analysts quickly began to see a deeper issue. The fire wasn't just an isolated incident, it was a symptom of something larger. Months of delayed maintenance had quietly accumulated across the ship. From mechanical systems supporting flight operations to basic habitability infrastructure, the strain was beginning to show everywhere. The question was no longer just about repairing fire damage. It was about restoring the ship itself. Initial assessments suggested that Ford might require anywhere between 12 to 14 months before it could return to full operational status. Not just because of the fire, but because of everything that came before it. The relentless sortie rate, the deferred maintenance, and the natural wear that comes with such an intense deployment cycle. For a first-in-class carrier, this raises serious concerns. Because Ford isn't just one ship, it's the blueprint for future carriers. And the timing couldn't be worse. The Navy is already dealing with delays across its fleet. The USS John C. Stennis, CVN-74, is undergoing a prolonged refueling and overhaul, while the USS Harry S. Truman, CVN-75, is expected to enter its own maintenance cycle soon. Now, with Ford potentially out of action for over a year, the strain on the fleet is growing, and that creates a dangerous cycle. Fewer available carriers mean longer deployments for those still in service. Longer deployments mean more wear, more fatigue, and more risk. And over time, that cycle becomes harder to break. The Ford was built to represent the future. But right now, it's exposing the limits of the present.